Salut mon pote, comment ça va? Today, exceptionally, I think I will record this video almost completely in English because I will attempt to make this a full, very long, complete guide about the three main kinds of articles for the people who are really struggling with the logic of using these articles together. This is not going to be a short video, this is going to be a long guide with a lot of practice exercises. The idea is that here you will have every explanation and every practice you need to finally understand exactly the logic of how to use these articles together. Okay? So, to follow this video and to make the best out of it, as always, you should not have any distractions around you, okay? Don't start to pause the video and look at your phone or stuff like this. You should put the video in full screen mode. Anyway, I will tell you when to pause it to do the exercises. And if you want to do it seriously, then you should also have like a pen and paper or a notebook to do the practice exercises along the way. Before we start, I mentioned this a billion times, but I will say it again because this is very important in my opinion. You will not become comfortable in using all the articles naturally by practicing and studying 100 different exercises. Okay, you will become comfortable in using the articles naturally by getting used to, you know, like speaking French to people, making mistakes, listening to French, watching movies, listening to some podcasts, etc. But here, this video is not about you being able to use these articles naturally. The video is about you understanding the logic. So then you have no doubt anymore. And then when you hear them, it makes sense in your mind and you don't have any kind of doubt. Okay? That's the purpose of today. So here are the three articles that we are going to study. L'article défini, le, la, les, indéfini, un, une, des, et partitif, du, de la, des. How to use these three articles together. So first of all, let's start with the first one, le, la, les. Just to review the logic. This is the most common article and I want to do this quick exercise to introduce it. So what you can do here is that you have vocabulary about activities, about hobbies here. Here you have pictures. So on your notebook you can write something like this, like 1, 2, 3, etc. And you can match the numbers of the drawings with the letters of the vocabulary. This is just to introduce the article, okay? So you can pause the video here and do this exercise. C'est bon? Alors si ça va, si c'est bon, on a donc l'art, les jeux vidéo, la littérature, les langues, la musique, le sport, le cinéma et la randonnée. So all of these are different hobbies, different activities, and you can see the articles, les, la, le, l'apostrophe, etc. So using these hobbies as examples, what does it mean? Well, it means that, for example, in French, sport et cinéma are masculin. That's the first thing. We use le with words with nouns that are masculine. Okay, you know that it's not like this in every languages. For example, in English, it's not like this. But in French, everything have a gender. Every noun, every word have a gender. So, sport, cinéma, they are masculin. So they are male. This is why we use le. La musique, la littérature, la randonnée. These words are feminine, so they are female. So pay attention. It is it doesn't have anything to do with like a woman listening to music or a woman reading or a woman doing hiking. Not at all. It's the word itself is feminine. And this is why we are using la musique, la littérature, la randonnée. Now, some activities here, like jeux vidéo et langue, are using les. It doesn't mean they don't have a gender. Jeux vidéo et langue, they have their own gender. But here, in this context, we use them in a plural form. It's similar to in English. Usually you will say, oh, do you like to play video games? And you imply video games plural because usually you like to play multiple video games, right? Or, oh, do you like languages? You know, you say languages plural because usually what you imply is, do you like many languages? Something like this. So even though jeux vidéo has a gender, et langue have a gender, in this context, we use them in the plural form. And as we will see along this video, usually when something is used in a plural context, we don't really care anymore if it's masculin or féminin, male or female. It just becomes neutral plural. And very important, with this les, this article here, les, it is mandatory, absolutely 100%, to do what we call la liaison, which means that even though when I pronounce the article by itself, les, I don't hear the S, I don't hear this, okay? Les, I don't hear it. If les is followed by a word starting with a vowel, like A, E, or a H, like this, then I have to link the two words together. So it will sound like les amis, not les amis. Suddenly the S sound creates a Z like this. Les amis. You can repeat after me. Les amis. Ok. Ici. Les enfants. Ici. Les îles. Ici. Les hommes. Ok. Très bien. Now, what about these words, starting with vowels, in front of, after le ou la? Well, now it's not possible to do a liaison anymore. Here it was possible because I had the S. Now it's not possible anymore. But le ami, le enfant sounds a bit strange. Probably you can notice that it doesn't sound very French, because in French we really love to alternate consonants and vowels. Okay, we don't like to have two vowels next to each other. Sometimes it happens, but most of the time we like to avoid it. So in this context, we just transform it into this generic L apostrophe. And it sounds like l'ami, l'enfant, l'île, l'homme. Again, in this case, I don't know anymore. I don't know if it's male or female anymore. I don't care so much anymore. If it starts with a vowel, anyway, I use this generic L apostrophe. Okay? So I can summarize the articles in this tab. If you wish, you can pause the video here to make sure that you're comfortable with this one. Okay? Très bien. So this is the easy part. Now the question is when to use this article. And the more interesting question will be when to use it as compared to the two others. So for this one, l'article défini, we normally use it in two contexts. Context number one is to talk about the general concept of something. I give you an example. In English, if you want to say that you like chocolate, but you're not talking about any specific chocolate, or you're not talking about a chocolate that's in front of you, you just want to say that in general, in life, you are the kind of person who likes chocolate, then you will say, I like chocolate, right? But in French, in front of these nouns like chocolate, chocolat, ici, it's always mandatory to have an article or like, this kind of grammar words to build the sentences. So in English, you just say, I like chocolate, but in French, it's not possible to have nothing in front of chocolat. So in this case, when you talk about the general concept of something, we use le, la, les. J'aime le chocolat. When I say j'aime le chocolat, I'm not talking about a known or a specific chocolate. I'm talking about the general idea of chocolate. Okay? Très bien. The other case where we use le, la, les is if I'm talking about an object that is specific, precisely identified. For example, if I see a house and I say, c'est la maison de ma mère. This is the house of my mother. It's a specific house. It's the house of my mother. Maybe in the street there are 50 houses, but this is the house of my mother. C'est la maison de ma mère. Okay? We will review more examples of this when we will put it together with the other articles. And so then the distinction and the logic will become more clear. But for now, you can do this first quick practice exercise. So what you can do is pause the video here and copy down the sentences on your notebook. You fill the blanks with le, la, les ou l'apostrophe. C'est bon? So you pause here and you do the exercise. Si c'est bon, if you need a bit of help, here I have put the gender of the nouns. Donc, masculin et féminin. So you can eventually correct your answers. C'est bon? On regarde. Boum. J'aime le café, mais je préfère le thé. J'adore l'art, la musique, la poésie, le cinéma. Est-ce qu'elle aime les jeux vidéo? Non, elle préfère la littérature et l'histoire. Nous adorons le sport, la randonnée, le basket et le cricket. Mon pays préféré, c'est la Turquie. Et toi? Moi, je préfère les Pays-Bas. C'est le chien de mon frère. C'est bon? Très bien. Si ça va, so until now this should be quite easy, I think. So if that's all right, let's introduce our second article. Un, une, des. Alors, this is what we will call l'article indéfini. So this one was défini because we use it for precise identified things. This one is indéfini because we use it for unprecise, undefined things. Okay? Let's do a quick exercise again. So what you can do is, again, pause the video here. And same as earlier on your notebook, you match the numbers of the pictures with the vocabulary. C'est bon? Alors, on regarde. By the way, these are all... This video is extracted from my course, right? And all these pictures are from Lille, the city of Lille. Okay? If you were wondering. Ça, c'est le quartier de la Treille. Ça, c'est une rue dans le Vieux-Lille. And this is a bar where I have actually been many, many times with my friends called l'Illustration, rue Royale. And this is a bottle of Picon, but I won't go into this topic. C'est bon? Ok, on regarde. Allez. Un appartement. Ok, un appartement. Un restaurant. Une colocataire. Un colocataire. So even if you don't know them, it's irrelevant. Hein. Colocataire, colocataire, these are people. These are the only answers possible. Un quartier, une rue, un bar. Bon, ça va? C'est bon. So, if I take these words, I'm sure it should be quite easy for you. Can you classify these words into two categories, masculin et féminin? Which one are masculin and which are féminin? Again, pause and on your notebook, you just write down like masculin, féminin. C'est bon? Obviously, hein? Un appartement, un quartier, un colocataire, un restaurant, un bar, c'est masculin. Une colocataire, une rue, c'est féminin. But, just like before with the previous article, we had le, la, les. Here we have un, une, and I need something for the plural, right? So, can you read this text? And by reading the text, you identify, so you pause the video here, you read the text, and you identify what is the plural article in this context. C'est bon? So I'm counting on you to pause the video and do it yourself. Ça va? Alors, on regarde. On a des restaurants, des bars. Regarde. J'habite à Lille dans un quartier très sympa. C'est le quartier Vieux-Lille. Donc, un quartier. J'ai un colocataire. I have a roommate. Il s'appelle Dong. Nous habitons dans une rue bruyante. In a noisy street. C'est la rue de Gand. J'aime la rue de Gand. Il y a des restaurants et des bars. Okay? There are some restaurants and some bars. C'est bien pluriel. Hein? There are many restaurants and many bars, not just one. Okay? Donc, on a l'article indéfini. Un, une, des. OK? Très bien. In the previous article, you remember that we had to do the liaison with des. And then we couldn't do the liaison with le et la. So we had this L apostrophe. Here, I won't have this issue because if I use des, I can do the liaison with S. If I say un, I can use the liaison with N. And une, okay, it ends with E, but I don't hear the E. Une ends with a consonant sound. Une, n. So I will be able to link the sounds as well. So with un, une, des, no need for any kind of modification. Okay? In terms of pronunciation, this is a difficult sound to make. This is the sound un. So this is not a pronunciation course, but the sound un is what we call a voyelle nasal. It's like a nose vowel because when you pronounce it correctly, you can actually feel like the small bones in your nose vibrating. If I say other vowels like O, A, E, I, U, I don't feel anything in my nose. But when I say suddenly it's vibrating like this. It sounds like my nose is closed like this. Okay? It's a very stretched sound. And when I do it, my tongue doesn't have to touch any teeth or anything in my mouth. My tongue is just like this. And it's super stretched. Okay? Comme fin, main, pain, lin, rein, ouin. Okay? It's the un sound. You can practice pronouncing it. Huh? In terms of liaison, as I was saying, I don't have to do any kind of modification because I can do the liaison with N. So I will have un ami, un enfant, un homme. Ça va? Très bien. With une, this time this is the sound U. So U is one of the most difficult sound to do in French for many people because a lot of languages, like English for example, they don't have the U sound. So if you are trying to make the U sound, pay attention, this is not OU, this is not OU like in English, this is U, which doesn't exist in English. Huh? So if you want to approach this sound, I will give you a quick tip that I have given 1 billion times approximately. So again, this is not a full pronunciation course, so I don't insist too much on it. But just in case you didn't hear this before, here's a quick tip to try to make the U sound. So first of all, you put your mouth as if you were going to whistle, like this. Whether you can actually whistle or no is irrelevant. You just put your mouth in this position. And then, while keeping your mouth in this position, you try to make the E sound, which exists in, I think, almost every languages in the world. So this should be easy. So you make a E sound. The thing is that normally the E sound is very stretched like this. E. So here the trick is to try to make a E, but at the same time you force your mouth to stay like this. And so the result will sound like U. U, U, U. It's not perfect, but if you struggle, it's a great step already to approach the U sound. Okay? You can repeat after me. U, su, fu, vu, sun, fun, vun, une. This is not un, this is une. Okay? And so in terms of liaison, technically it's not called a liaison because there's no consonant, but I won't go into detail. What's important here is that whenever you use une in front of a vowel, you will still merge the sounds together. Par exemple, you should repeat after me. Une amie, un enfant, une île. Ok, très bien. Donc, un, une, really pay attention to the difference of pronunciation between them. Un ami, une amie. If you look at my mouth, okay, obviously I don't speak like this in real life. I'm exaggerating a bit. But if you look at my mouth, you will see that for un, I can really stretch it like this, un. But for une, I really make it super small, une. Okay? You can repeat after me. Celui-là. Un ami, une amie. Celui-là. Un enfant, une enfant. Celui-là. Un étudiant, une étudiante. Okay? Très bien. I don't go more in detail about pronunciation. Finally, des is doing the same kind of liaison than previously we saw with les. It's the same thing. Donc, des amis, des enfants, des hommes. It's the same principle. Okay? Très bien. So after talking about pronunciation for a bit too long, now the question is when to use which, right? This is what we are interested in. This is what's difficult. I mean, this is what's usually the difficult in terms of logic. So when to use un, une, des as compared to le, la, les. When to use which. So as I have told you before, we use le, la, les to talk about something specific or something that I have mentioned previously. But it's the same because if I'm talking about something I've mentioned previously, it becomes something specific. Okay, for example, I say, oh, earlier I saw a cat. And then 1 hour later, oh, you know the cat I told you before? You see? You know the cat I told you before? I'm talking about something previously mentioned, so suddenly it's specific in a sentence. And I use un, une, des, well, to talk about the opposite, something that's not specific, not precise, not well defined. If I take this text, for example, you should pause the video here, read the text again, and try to get the logic of having un, une, des for things that are not specific, le, la for things that are specific. Par exemple, j'habite à Lille dans un quartier très sympa. Is it a specific neighborhood? No, it's just a neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood. Nothing specific. The purpose of this sentence is not to identify the neighborhood precisely. The purpose of this sentence is to say that the neighborhood is nice. It's a nice neighborhood. But then the next sentence, c'est le quartier Vieux-Lille. No, I'm giving the name of the neighborhood. I am identifying it precisely. This is not just any neighborhood. This is the Vieux-Lille. Okay? J'ai un colocataire. Again, I'm not identifying precisely the roommate. The information is just to say that I have a roommate. That's it. Il s'appelle Dong. Nous habitons dans une rue bruyante. Just like I was saying here, the purpose of the sentence was not to identify precisely the neighborhood. It was just to say that the neighborhood is very nice. Here is the same. The purpose is not to identify precisely the street. It's just to say that the street is noisy. Je vis dans une rue bruyante. And then I precisely identify it. C'est la rue de Gand. J'aime la rue de Gand. Okay? I say la rue de Gand because when I say this, it's a precise identified street. Dans la rue de Gand, il y a des restaurants et des bars. So there are some restaurants, some bars. Again, they are not precisely identified. Okay? Très bien. And remember, we also use le, la, les to talk about a general concept. The general concept of something. For example, j'aime la musique, j'adore l'art, j'aime le chocolat. It's like I like music, I love art, I love chocolate, you know? I'm not talking about any specific or not specific music or chocolate. I'm just talking about the general concept of music, art and chocolate. Très bien. Let's look at more examples. If I have an apple in front of me, it's not a precise apple, it's not an identified apple, it's just an apple. I don't know where it comes from. I'm just saying, oh yeah, that's you know, like, what is it? Well, that's an apple. You know, that's what I can tell you. Which article will I use? If you need some time to think, you can pause the video here. So obviously I would say, c'est une pomme. C'est une pomme. It's not precise. Okay? Now, let's say that this apple, on it, there's a sticker with the name of Sisa. Because, for example, I live in a shared apartment and Sisa, she has a roommate. Her roommate, he has the bad habit of eating everything he sees. So if you don't tag your name on your food, he will eat it. Okay? So she puts her name on her apple. No, it's not any apple anymore. C'est la pomme de Sisa. No, it becomes a specific apple. C'est quelle pomme? C'est la pomme de Sisa. Okay? It becomes precise, identified. Now, let's say that, you see, look. In this case here, there was an apple in front of me. But it's not precise, it's not specific. C'est juste une pomme. In this case, there's an apple in front of me and it is identified. It's precise. C'est la pomme de Sisa. In this case, there's no apple anymore. There's not even an apple in front of it. There's just someone asking me, like, okay, what fruits do you like? And I want to answer, I like apples. Well, in this case, I am in this context. I'm talking about the general concept of something. J'aime les pommes en général. I like apples in general. Okay? Très bien. Other example. I just want to say that in the Rue de Gand, there's a restaurant. Like you are asking me, for example, okay, where can I find a restaurant near here? Oh, there's a restaurant in Rue de Gand. Il y a un restaurant. Okay, it's not specific, it's not precise. But now I want to add something. This is Dong's favorite restaurant. Now it becomes specific. And on top of this, I am talking about something previously mentioned. You know, oh yeah, there's a restaurant in the Rue de Gand. This is Dong's favorite restaurant. I have mentioned this restaurant before in the previous sentence. So now it becomes specific. C'est le restaurant préféré de Dong. Okay? Très bien. And now I just want, so now there's no real restaurant anymore. I just want to say that Dong loves Italian restaurants. Well, again, I am in this concept of talking about a general concept, a general idea. Dong, he loves Italian restaurants in general. Il adore les restaurants italiens. Okay? Très bien. So the distinction between them should be more clear now. It should be okay, normally. Can you try to fill in the gaps here with 3 articles? You will have to use the three concepts here. Okay. C'est bon? So you can pause the video here and copy the sentence on your notebook, fill in the blanks. On a donc j'habite dans une rue calme. It's not a precise street. C'est la rue de Gand. Now it's specific, identified. J'aime les rues calmes. No, I'm just talking about the general concept of quiet streets. I like quiet streets in general. Okay? Très bien. Here's a practice exercise. Un, une, des, le, la, l'apostrophe, les. You should fill in the blanks with the articles. So you can pause the video here and copy the sentences on your notebook. C'est bon? On regarde. J'habite dans un quartier très calme. La rue de Gand est bruyante. Le colocataire de Sissa est très sympa. Je suis à l'aéroport de Paris. J'aime les pommes. Il y a des restaurants dans la rue de Sissa. C'est le bar préféré d'Olivia. Sissa est une colocataire sympa. Sissa est la colocataire de Dong. Tu as des enfants? Non, j'ai un chien. Okay? So, I don't have much to say about these sentences. There is not much explanation required because this is purely the same logic in every sentences we've seen. So if you have 1 or 2 mistakes, it's fine, don't worry. Please just make sure that you understand them and that you correct them properly. But if you have like 6 or 7 mistakes, you know, like this is not normal. And if you have a lot of mistakes here, you shouldn't continue the video. You should, I don't know, find another way to understand the logic, because if the distinction between these 2 articles is not perfectly clear right now, it's pointless to move to the 3rd article, because then it will be too confusing to mix the 3 of them together. Okay? So, okay, originally I had put a lot of practice exercises, but I actually made a different video for this, because I feel like we did some practice already now. So if you are interested in doing all of these practice exercises here with some listening exercises as well, you see, okay, a lot of practice exercises. You can go check out the specific video. I will put the link of the specific video in the description. Okay, so that's a specific video just for practice exercises. But for now, I feel like this is not so mandatory. We saw a lot already. Then we can move on to the third article, du, de la, des, which is the one we call l'article partitif. So now this is where usually it gets a bit more tricky when we add this one. But don't worry, we go step by step. You will see that this is less difficult than you thought. So here's the idea with this article. Let's imagine that I want to cook some rice. I want to cook some fried rice, for example. I will need to buy some rice, right? If I want to cook some fried rice, but I don't have rice at home, I will have to buy rice. Rice in French is riz. Careful, we don't pronounce the Z. Riz. Okay. So I need to go to the store to buy some rice. Which article should I use? Le riz? Not really, because first of all, I'm not talking about the general concept of rice, because I'm going to buy actual rice that I can take in my hand. But at the same time, it's not a specific rice as well. In the sentence, I don't care which rice I'm buying. Like, that's not the point of the sentence. I'm just going to buy some rice. So, le doesn't work. Then, un riz doesn't make sense as well, because I'm not going to buy a rice. You know, the issue here is that rice belongs to a kind of stuff that are like unprecise quantities. When I say I'm going to buy some rice, I cannot specify the quantity. I don't know the quantity I'm going to buy. If I say I'm going to buy 1 kilo of rice, that's a different story. Or if I say I'm going to buy a pack of rice, that's a different story. That's not my point here. Here I'm not talking about a kilo, I'm not talking about a pack, I'm talking about some rice. Well, I cannot count rice because rice is kind of like liquid. You know, I don't know the precise quantity. I don't know, like if I just look at this bag of rice, to me, this is just some rice. I don't know what's the exact quantity. I don't know how many grains are inside. This is just some rice. In this context, I use a third kind of article, du, de la, et des. Okay? I will go in detail about this. First of all, you might wonder why does du et des, they look so similar to each other, but de la is very different. Well, actually, du is kind of the contraction of de le. Des is kind of the contraction of de les. Because in French, it's impossible to have de le and de les. Okay, it's impossible. So, de le becomes du, de les becomes des. But de la can remain de la. This will be important for later. So, what will happen if I have this article in front of a vowel or a H, just like we saw before? If you remember, in the past, for example, le ou la, they used to become L apostrophe. Here, what will I do in front of a vowel? I will have de L apostrophe. Why? Because, like I said here, du is actually de le. So, just like le et la become L apostrophe in front of a vowel, if I have du ou de la in front of a vowel, they will return back to L apostrophe. Okay? And so again, I don't care anymore if huile et eau are masculin ou féminin. Because whether they are masculin or féminin, it makes no difference. I will just have this L apostrophe. Donc, de l'huile et de l'eau. Okay? This means that the tab look like this. If I'm talking about something masculine, I have du ou de l. If I'm talking about something feminine, I have de la ou de l. Okay? And for the plural, I have des. Ça va? Très bien. But I have a fourth category because this article is a bit more tricky than the others. The fourth category we will see later. First of all, let's do a quick practice exercise. So I want you to fill in these holes with du, de la, de l et des. Depending on whether the noun is masculin, féminin, pluriel. C'est bon? So you should pause the video here and copy the full sentences on your notebook. On a je mange du poisson avec de l'huile d'olive. Tu manges des haricots verts avec du beurre. Je voudrais de la salade, s'il vous plaît. By the way, I don't go into detail, but there's a reason why I don't pronounce the liaison here. Haricot is part of exceptions words where we don't do liaison. Okay, I don't go in detail. So now, let's look at the logic. When I eat this plate, okay, je mange du poisson avec de l'huile d'olive. So this is this plate. What I'm saying is that I'm eating some fish. I'm using this article because I don't know what's the quantity of fish in my plate. And to be frank, I don't really care. I'm not eating a fish. If I were to say, je mange un poisson, it would mean that in my plate, I have like the whole fish. No, like this. But here, I don't know if that's the full fish. I don't know if that's one fish. I'm just saying that's some fish. Same for olive oil. Like, you know, when you pour some olive oil on your plate, you don't know what's the quantity. Like, you just put some on your plate and you just, like, by looking, you just put a little bit like this and that's it. But you don't know precisely if you have put 1 spoon or 2 milliliters, something like this, you know. You just put some olive oil. That's why we use l'article partitif. Tu manges des haricots verts avec du beurre. It's exactly the same. When I eat a plate of haricots verts, so like green beans like this, I don't know how many they are. It's imprecise quantities because the quantity is not important. Like, you don't care if you eat 100 grams or 200 grams of haricots verts. What you care is just like, you just see your plate, put some inside, and, you know, like by looking, you know if that's too much or not enough. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds a bit dumb when I explain it like this, but this is really the logic of this article. And same, for example, in French, it's very common for some people like me, for example, to put some butter with haricots verts. I think it's very tasty, especially salted butter. And it makes them really, really delicious. Okay, but when I put some butter on the haricots verts, same. I don't know how much butter I'm putting. You know, it's like I have my block of butter, and I just cut a slice, and I don't know if the slice is like 10 grams or 50 grams or 200 grams. I have no idea. I just put some butter, you know. It's not precise. It's not a defined quantity. Okay, and same for salad. I don't know exactly how much salad there are, etc., etc. So that's the logic. I hope with this example you can understand a bit better. Okay? So now I was telling you that there's a fourth way to use this article. So what is the case? It's using, this time we remove completely the le and we just use de like this. This can happen sometimes. When will this happen? So I am using again my example of rice. Okay? So this is rice, and this is nothing because the bowl is empty. Donc ça c'est du riz, and this is nothing because the bowl is empty. So these are quantities, all right? You could say that this is beaucoup. That's a lot of rice, correct? And that's just a little bit. Like that's really a lot, beaucoup, and that's just a little bit, un peu. And that's actually nothing. This is pas, right? Like the negation in French, this is like zero. So here I have a lot of rice. Here I have a little bit of rice. And here I don't have rice. Well, whenever we use this kind of words, like this kind of quantifiers, like beaucoup, un peu, pas, then we use them with this form of the article. De ou des apostrophe in front of a vowel. What it means is that I will never ever say beaucoup du riz. I will never ever say un peu du riz. I will never ever say pas du riz. There is no exception. You will never see pas du, un peu du, beaucoup du. It's impossible. Instead, whenever I have a kind of quantifier like this, I will always revert to de. Beaucoup de riz, un peu de riz, pas de riz. Okay? And here the quantifiers are a bit abstract, like beaucoup, un peu, pas, but they can be more precise, like a bottle of oil, a pack of rice, a kilo of rice, etc. All of these are quantifiers, and all of them will use de. Okay? Très bien. For example, these were the sentences we have just seen. Now I will modify them just a little bit to add quantifiers. Look at this. Beaucoup poisson, un peu huile d'olive, un peu, pas, etc. Again, you should pause the video right here and fill in the blanks with the article. C'est bon? On regarde. Je mange beaucoup. 2 poissons, 2 salades, 2 beurre. And by right, I should say 2 haricots verts because haricot is an exception. But it gets tricky and it's irrelevant. So, you know, in front of vowels, I have des apostrophes. Okay? Beaucoup de poissons, un peu d'huile d'olive, un peu d'haricots verts, un peu de beurre, pas de salade. Ok? Très bien. Ça va? And that's it. With this, we have seen everything there is to know about the articles. So we are left with practice exercise for this and then examples of how to use the 3 articles together. So we start with this exercise. You can and you should pause the video right here and fill in the blanks with l'article partitif. So it can be du, de L apostrophe, de la, des, de ou des apostrophes. Hein? You should fill in the blanks with all of these possibilities. C'est bon? On regarde. Je préfère boire du thé vert, je n'aime pas le café. Mon frère habite en Belgique, il adore manger des frites. J'adore écouter de la musique. Tu veux de la bière? Non merci, je ne bois pas d'alcool. On achète du beurre, de la viande, de l'huile, des légumes. Son cousin mange beaucoup de viande pour avoir des protéines. Je voudrais 1 kilo de tomates et un peu d'amandes, s'il vous plaît. As I was saying, 1 kilo is a quantifier just like un peu ou... No, these are the only... Oh, ou beaucoup, for example. Donc 1 kilo de tomates. Je mange des fruits pour avoir de l'énergie. Ses parents sont riches, ils ont beaucoup d'argent. On peut avoir du pain, s'il vous plaît. Très bien. C'est bon? Parfait. Now, the main and biggest topic, how to use all of these articles together. Well, I'm repeating myself, but again, please, I want this to be clear in your mind. You won't become comfortable and fluent in using them by doing 1000 practice exercises. This is just not how it works. You will become comfortable by practicing speaking, writing, talking to people, by making mistakes, understanding your mistakes, listening to French, getting used to the flow, the rhythm of French, etc., etc. That's how you will become comfortable with them. So we are just going to review a few examples, do one exercise, and that will be it for today. I think the video is long enough already. If you have followed until here, congratulations. So let's review some examples. This is Alexandre, all right? And this is his coffee. So this is like the coffee of Alexandre, right? In this context, this is a precise, identified coffee. C'est le café d'Alexandre, right? Because this is a precise coffee. But here, I'm saying Marie, so the woman here, she's drinking a coffee. She has 1 cup of coffee. She's drinking a coffee. Donc Marie boit un café. It's not a specific one. You could argue that in this sentence, this is the coffee of Marie as well because she drinks it. But I know this is the coffee of Marie. But that's not the point of the sentence. You know, like grammatically, I am not identifying the coffee. The purpose of the sentence is to say that Marie is drinking a coffee. Not that this coffee belongs to Marie, you know? So in this sentence, the coffee is not precisely identified. She just drinks a coffee. Marie boit un café. But now, if I look at the full coffee machine, you know, let's say, for example, I'm eating a big dinner with my family, and at the end of a big lunch with my family, at the end of the meal, I get up and I say, okay, who wants some coffee? This is very common in French. We usually drink short coffee after lunch. So you say, okay, who wants some coffee? And then in my family, around the table, maybe 7 people want coffee. You know, like in this context, it's very common. You don't really prepare 7 individual coffee. You just turn on the big coffee machine and you do like a big quantity and then you just pour some coffee to everyone. Like that's how we do. Probably the same in many countries, right? In many countries that drink coffee. Okay, anyway, my point is that when you do this, you don't count the quantity of coffee you're doing. You just prepare like a big coffee machine and you just evaluate randomly how much you're doing. Like you just put some water, put some coffee. Okay, it's for 5 or 7 people, so approximately a few spoons of coffee. And then you just do it. And so at the end, you don't have a specific, precise quantity of coffee. You just have some coffee. On a du café. Right? In the coffee machine, we just have some coffee. Okay? Other example. Let's say that Alexandre and Cyril are drinking beer. They are at the bar. They both purchase their beer. So here, this is the beer of Alexandre and the beer of Cyril. Maybe Alexandre, he drinks blonde beer. Cyril, he drinks IPA beer. Okay. So these are not the same. This is la bière d'Alexandre et la bière de Cyril. Okay. I'm referring to the specific glass of beer that they have. Okay? But now let's say the woman, she's at the bar and she's ordering a beer. Well, she's not ordering a specific beer. She just say, I would like a beer, please. Donc, je voudrais une bière, s'il vous plaît. Right? When you order something, okay, je voudrais une bière, s'il vous plaît. Okay? Très bien. Now, let's say that I am telling you about my friends and I want to tell you that my friends, they like to drink beer. Well, in this context, I'm not talking about a specific number of beers. In this context, beer is kind of an unprecise quantity because they just like to drink some beer. Donc mes amis aiment boire de la bière. Okay? The logic should become more and more easy. Hein? Last example. My sister, let's say that she likes to travel and she likes China. She traveled to China many times. And so she has some friends in China. Which article will I use? My sister, she has some friends in China. Well, these are not specific friends. She just has like some friends in China. Donc elle a des amis en Chine. And I let you think about it and convince yourself that in this context, it doesn't make any difference really which one I'm using. She has some friends. It's not precise. She has, like, the point of the sentence is not to say that she has 5 friends or 3 friends. It's just to say that, oh yeah, actually my sister, she knows some people in China. You know, like that's, what's important is the sentence is that she knows people in China, which is uncommon for most French people. The point of the sentence is not how many friends she has. You know what I mean? Okay. Donc ma sœur a des amis en Chine. If I want to say she has a lot of friends, no, pay attention. Because I'm using beaucoup, automatically I will revert to the apostrophe, right? Because with this kind of quantifier, I will have de ou des apostrophes. This is l'article partitif automatically. Ma sœur a beaucoup d'amis en Chine. You will never have beaucoup de. It's impossible. Beaucoup de, beaucoup les, beaucoup du, beaucoup de la, impossible. Always beaucoup de. I don't care which article it is anymore. Okay? But no, let's say that you come to, I don't know, like you see a picture on my phone and you ask me, so that's the picture, and you say, wait, who are these people? And I tell you, oh, these are the friends of my sisters. Well, no, the friends are precisely identified. Again, I don't care that they are 3, 5, 10. I don't care about the number, but I care about the fact that they are the friends of my sister. They are precisely identified. Ce sont les amis de ma sœur. Okay? I think with this, we have seen enough examples. So we can finish with this last exercise. You should pause the video and fill in the blanks with any kind of article we have seen today. Anything. C'est bon? Si ça va, on regarde. C'est parti, let's go. J'ai un chien et un chat. I have a dog and a cat. Le chien de mon oncle s'appelle Paf. Now the dog is identified. C'est le chien de mon oncle, il s'appelle Paf. Je ne bois pas ou pas automatiquement, pas de Coca-Cola, je bois de l'eau. Okay? Pas de, mais de l'eau. Coca-Cola et eau, okay? Coke and water. These are unprecise quantities, because just like for most liquids, you know. J'aime le Coca-Cola. J'adore l'huile d'olive. Hein. These are the general concept of Coke and huile d'olive. Elle mange du riz avec des légumes, de la salade et un peu d'huile d'olive. J'adore les kiwis jaunes. La tante de mon ami est très belle. Moi, je n'ai pas 2 tantes, hein, pas 2. Mon ami a une tante. Okay. So here, for example, this should make sense at this point. Okay. This should make sense for you. Why we use la, why we use de, why we use une. Okay. And with this, we reach the end of this full guide on article. Again, I have specific videos on my channel for practice exercises. So we didn't do too many practice exercises here, but I have specific practice exercises video on my channel if you want to do more exercises. Keep in mind that this is not by doing a billion exercises that you will become fluent and comfortable. Again, I know I repeat myself, but this will be more by practicing conversation and forcing yourself to practice conversation and listening to French, etc., etc. Even though you make mistakes, that you will learn to be more comfortable. Okay? In any case, congratulations if you have reached this point. I really hope that now the topic is more clear and easier for you. C'est tout pour moi. Ciao mon pote.